Welcome back, everyone, to the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast. It's Friday.
hmm
That means the weekend is just around the corner. We're here to talk about the week that was and the weekend upcoming. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same way that what I said for the recap did, but
True.
that's okay because Dominic, I'm so
No,
happy to see you. I haven't seen
same.
you in. I
I,
guess we just got done recording a
a betting
gambling
show.
episode. So if you guys have any interest in betting content, go check it out. The Nosebleeds over on YouTube. We got a little playlist over there that you can check out all of our Nosebleed episodes. But if you want anything that gets you ready for the plays of this weekend, make sure to check out the one that we did
Yeah.
for Johnny Walker versus Jamahal Hill.
Yeah.
Anyways, Dominic, how are you
No,
doing with the weekend upcoming?
I'm doing great, man. It's been a really good week so far. Well, obviously we're recording this on Wednesday night, so we're halfway through the week now. Hopefully, come Friday morning when all of our wonderful listeners are or viewers are watching this, they're having a good week, getting the weekend started. I mean, Bellator's back. We've got the UFC, not the greatest of cards really on both sides of the spectrum, but it's fights nonetheless. So I'm excited, man. It's been a good week again. It's going to be a great weekend. I'm excited to get into some news, some fights. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's hard sometimes because I went to do my my normal routine. Now that we have the betting show, I kind of do that first. So I'm like looking through the card, looking at kind of these fights, and I'm like, man, this is a thin card.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at Bellator, and I was like, man, this is a
You,
thin card.
yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, yes, you're right. At least there's fights. Like, I'd rather there be something than nothing, but at the same time, it's like, oof.
Damn.
I mean, it's again, we know though that this is the kind of card you'll say that about, and then it'll over
Yeah.
deliver. It'll perform very well. So, no doubt, there are some good fights on here. There are ones that are sleepers for sure, but we just gotta make you guys aware of them. I think
Damn,
so.
Skippy.
Let's get into the fight announcements, though, Dominic, and it's going to be dominated by Bellator.
Hello. Came out swinging.
Yeah, this is the first time I think we've really had a Bellator dominated fight announcement segment, and I mean it's deserved here because
Yes.
their spring is looking like a pretty big time for them. It starts with Bellator 276 on March 12th. The main event, kind of interesting. Adam Borics, Mads Burnell, they're both tied for number two. Mads Burnell is a guy that's very popular over in the UK, so I expect a lot of intrigue from that market in this fight. But Dominic, I think there's some bigger stories around here. First, I got to get your thoughts on the co-main event. Phil Davis fighting Julius Anglickas. I know you are kind of a Phil Davis stan now. Is that correct?
Yeah, after that last performance, I guess I could fall for that. Oh, sorry. You want me to go right into
I
it?
don't know if you have any thoughts.
No. No, it is interesting. Phil Davis to me, and I get it. Yoel didn't show us much in that fight, but Phil Davis showed me a lot. And I know he doesn't have like the craziest of fight styles, the most fan friendly, but there was just a perfect mixture that he hit for me that night that just made me really impressed. And I'll be curious to see if he can kind of keep it going. Because if he can win one more. Obviously he's going to be awaiting potentially the winner of another fight that we're going to talk about on here. So it's definitely a good test for him. And Julius Anglickas, we've seen him relatively recently. What was his last fight? Did he fight Nemkov?
He fought Nemkov. He stepped
Yeah.
in for a rumble.
Yes, that's what it was. So obviously we know he fell short there, but no slouch by any means. I don't think it's some cakewalk for Phil Davis, but it's one where he can really place a stamp on it and kind of solidify his spot there within the title contender area for the light heavyweights.
And now the biggest story that nobody's talking about, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to make this a story.
Oh, yeah.
We're part of we are the big time, what do they call it? Big J journalists. Is that what,
I'll
that's
take
not,
it.
Not really us, but I think there's a bigger story to this card, and that's on the prelims. Kat Zingano is booked to fight Pam Sorenson. Now, this fight itself is kind of whatever. I mean, I like Kat Zingano. Pam Sorenson's fine, but whatever. It's a prelim fight. But Dominic, Kat Zingano was once pegged to be the next fight for Chris Cyborg and her featherweight title.
Yes.
So now that Kat Zingano's booked in another fight, that leads me to believe that there's only one real reason why that's the case, and that's that Bellator, I think, feels pretty confident they got Kayla Harrison coming on the way. What are your thoughts when I say that to you?
No, I love it, and we are damn sure making it a storyline here on the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast. You sent this in the DMs, and you're like, wait a minute, and I'm like, he's on to something here, because Kat Zingano and Chris Cyborg were literally tweeting at each other saying, hey, yeah, March looks good. Let's have this title fight. Scott Coker's like all on board. Not so much anymore. And this is a weird one for Kat Zingano to really get pushed back so far. But the bigger story, because we talked about this last week, that Kayla had that 11th hour, right, where it looked like it was all but done with the PFL. Now it's kind of taken a turn for the worse. She's even had an interview with ESPN MMA this week. She had one with MMA Junkie today. And both of them, man, she's really not sure what's going to happen, but she's fed up. She's ready to be signed somewhere. She's ready to fight as soon as the spring, she says. And man, you got to think, and we've talked about this, so much already, that Bellator just seems to fit her because they have this full division of featherweights and they have Chris Cyborg there at the top for her to come in.
Maybe don't say full division of featherweights. I mean,
it's damn full compared to the UFC.
If the PFL is the PFL of a full division of lightweights, like, I guess, but I mean,
Listen, if you're comparing it to the UFC's featherweight division, 4 fighters is full. But this has got to be something that's got to be in other people's minds, and if it's not, we're going to engrave it in there for you, because I think there is more to be said here about this placement for Kat Zingano. Why are they holding out Chris Cyborg? She didn't even take damage in her last fight, really. Why is she not defending this belt? Well, maybe, just maybe, they're freeing up some space. They're ready to throw the cash Kayla Harrison's way and let her come right in to fight Chris Cyborg. I think it's a very good possibility now all of a sudden.
Well, it sounds like the offer is already on the table. If Ariel Helwani is to be believed, he said the Bellator came in with the offer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure they can have little tweaks here and there, but it sounds like the contract's there. To me, this just kind of reaffirms that Bellator is at least, whether I don't know how confident they are, but it to me, this says they're confident, or at least says that they're willing to, like, kind of make that move. Like, to me, this is saying we're going in the Kayla Harrison direction.
Yeah.
Like, they feel at least confident enough, or feel like it's enough of a statement to maybe get some brownie points with Kayla. I don't know, but that's what this announcement said to me. We'll see if it ends up happening. Her interviews today mostly just came off like she's very frustrated with the whole thing. Didn't exactly say one way or another where she's leaning, but it's very clear that she's still a free agent. That's all that matters, I guess, if you're Bellator, who was once, I mean, just a week ago, it was all but confirmed she was going to the PFL, and not the case anymore, Dom.
Very true.
And let's just be clear, if her and Chris Cyborg is the fight that's going to get made, I mean, presumably it would be like in May or something. I mean, what a first quarter / beginning of second quarter for Bellator for 2022. Obviously, like, this card that we're about to talk about for this weekend ain't that crazy, but you got 276 that's looking pretty good, and then you follow that up with what we're about to get into with 277.
Mm-hmm.
It is looking really nice for Bellator coming up in the spring.
Yes.
And let's just get into Bellator 277 because Dominic,
please.
Their two biggest champions are fighting on the same card. It is probably the biggest doubleheader Bellator has and could ever do.
Yeah.
And the rematch will be in your main event as AJ McKee, now the champion, looks to defend for the first time his featherweight title against the man he took the belt from, Patricio Pitbull. Also in your co-main event, the finals of the light heavyweight Grand Prix. So not only will the winner of the tournament be decided, but also the winner of that sweet, sweet light heavyweight title, as Vadim Nemkov looks to defend against Corey 24-8 Beeston. I know that's not his name anymore. Or 25-8 Beeston was his nickname at one time. Anderson. So, two huge fights announced for this card. Not a ton of other fights. I saw Tim Johnson and Tyrell Fortune are fighting on this card as well. So
Oh,
it's a
okay.
pretty decent heavyweight fight to have on there as well. But
Yeah.
thoughts with these two fights and the fact that they're on the same card?
Oh, I mean, this is amazing. This is, a mega card for Bellator, if you will, because this is the two biggest title fights that they can do right now. And they both make sense. I mean, obviously, you have the light heavyweight finals, so you knew that was the fight to make. Corey Anderson has looked so damn good since coming into Bellator. Vadim Nemkov has looked close to flawless in most of his title fights and defenses. And then, of course, the featherweight strap, AJ McKee looking to make his first defense, looking to become the biggest star in Bellator, if I'm being honest. And if he can beat Patricio Pitbull again, especially in any way of fashion that's close to how he took the belt, this dude has a rocket ship strapped to his back for the company. So I'm very much looking forward to this. It's going to be a huge night for Bellator. And as you said, it's just heating up, right? Because this card this weekend, not great. Next week, you've got Mousasi Vanderford, which is going to be a great fight. Then you've got these fights in the spring. You might be getting Kayla Harrison, Chris Cyborg in the spring. This is going to, again, last year was a huge year for Bellator, and we loved it. This year might shape up to be even more so.
Yeah, that's very true. And let's not forget, I mean, I think this is something that kind of passed us by, but there were some whispers that, that people weren't too sure if AJ McKee was even going to fight. Because the rumor was that he had a similar contract to Ngannou, where if he would have set out till July, he could have became a free agent.
Gotcha.
Now, instead, he does get booked, so Bellator's got to be just loving that. And they don't have to deal with that headache. And now you got two of your biggest title fights you can make on the same card. I mean, this card should be a big deal for Bellator. I hope that Showtime really puts a lot of promotional power behind it, because AJ McKee is a star.
Yes.
But apparently when he won the title from Pitbull, didn't do the best viewership numbers. So because of that, I think this guy is just like, he's like our little secret. He's like, like you want to see him just get a bigger platform, a bigger stage. So hopefully Showtime really put a lot behind this one. I mean, stacking it this way, Corey Anderson, former UFC contender, and I think both champions could really do a lot with the win here, and both challengers, I mean, really looking for respect. Pitbull, probably the best fighter in Bellator history, looking to try to take back what he believes is gave up his lightweight title so his brother could win it, but also so that he could just focus on this division. And for Vadim Nemkov, he has really been riding the ship of light heavyweight since beating Ryan Bader, kind of giving it a direction, giving it a focus, but still a guy that goes under the radar sometimes. So I think
very much.
I think this is going to be a big card for Bellator. I really hope that there's a lot of viewership behind it.
Yes, it's much deserved.
And finally, for the UFC, Dominic, just a quick one, a date change. Donald Cowboy Cerrone and Joe Lauzon, that really cool legend fight, likely the last fight of Cowboy Cerrone's career, maybe the last fight of Lauzon's career, is being moved from April 30th to UFC 274 on May 7th. And I didn't even think about this, but how are you going to have those two fight in an empty arena?
Exactly.
Come on. You got to put that fight with fans. And
because of that, especially if it's their swan song, Yeah,
so I think we can all say that was the right move. Didn't even think about it when we talked about it being announced, but clearly the right move here.
Yes, couldn't agree more.
Let's get on to some more news, Dominic, and it's an interesting topic. UFC featherweights. There's a lot of rumors about what's going on with that featherweight division. We have our title fight, Alexander Volkanovski, Korean Zombie, stepping in for Max Holloway, who was injured, had to pull out of the fight. But then it seems Max Holloway either recovered a lot quicker than he thought, wasn't as hurt, or maybe the how long he had to be out wasn't what he thought it was, or maybe he pulled out because he wasn't just going to have the training camp he needed. But regardless, he's kind of looking for a fight right now, and the rumored the thing that Ariel had been whispering about, the Hail Mary, the rabbit out of the hat that the UFC was looking to put as the main event on UFC Columbus was Max Holloway versus Josh Emmett, Dom. So a very interesting fight because not one that I don't think anybody was expecting.
No.
Also, to go along with that, the UFC are planning to book Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. What a hell of a scrap that is. I guess we can we don't have to talk too much about that one because once it gets announced, then we'll kind of reaffirm. But are you surprised that Max Holloway, and apparently it appears that just because it didn't get booked for Columbus doesn't mean Holloway and Emmett is off the table. Are you surprised that Max Holloway is looking to take another fight instead of waiting for the title fight?
No, I'm just confused. I'm really confused on this whole, timeline here because Volk's defending in April. I think it's April 9th, if I'm not mistaken, is UFC 273. So if you were looking to do Max on March 26th, well, that gives him 2 extra weeks if he were to get the title fight. So I don't know. I think a lot happened in a very short amount of time. Like Max was hurt. They went quickly to Korean Zombie, but after they had already confirmed that fight, then it's like, oh, Max, oh, shit, I might be ready to fight. But now you don't want to pull Korean Zombie from the card. Max is willing to fight. I don't know. It's all really weird to me. It's really sketchy.
I think Dana said it was a hand injury at the time, so maybe either it recovered quicker than he thought, or it just wasn't as bad as he thought. Apparently, he came to the UFC and was like, look, I got this injury.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of said like, and I don't remember where I'm getting this from, so take this with a grain of salt, but it was kind of like, hey, UFC, I got this injury. If you want to go in another direction, I understand. And then they did because Korean Zombie was kind of available right then.
That would make sense.
But then he kind of came back and was like, well, I guess I'm not really as hurt as I thought I was.
It does say a lot to me, too, that Max is just willing to be like, fuck it, dude. I'll just fight again then. And Josh Emmett, I mean, this is a fight that Josh Emmett deserves. That would be a big-time opportunity for him and a dangerous fight for Max Holloway. At the end of the day, will we actually see it come to fruition? That's what I'm really curious to see. I mean, it looks like signs are pointing that direction. You said Ariel said it's a possibility that it still may happen at a later date. But I just feel like that right now, if Max is still recovering a little bit at least, I'm in no hurry to really rush that. I would like to see the title picture play out in April, which is just less than 2 months away now at this point, and then maybe let's kind of see what's going on there. Because if Korean Zombie wins, that's a guy that Max has never fought. That's a fight that we've been salivating for years. It seems like at this point. And then if Volk wins, you still have the trilogy there with Max. So yeah, if I'm Max, I know he loves to fight, and I'm not saying he was like can lose this fight to Emmett, but it is a dangerous one at that, and to lose your number 1 contender spot, I don't know. I'm just saying, let's see what happens. This was really weird to me. It was
weird, but I mean, I thought it was weird when Max and Yair got booked, and then it got delayed, and then
true.
So like, I'm starting to just wonder, Dominic, and maybe we should be crediting Max Holloway here for the fact that he's just kind of like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Takes another fight. But, and I do give him credit for that. I love it. I love it that the guy just wants to fight, And I guess to me, though, it does make me at least have to wonder, okay, what's the motivation behind this, right? Because he's done this multiple times now. And even though everybody wants him versus Volkanovski for a third time, has Max ever really came out and said, like, that's what he wants?
He basically just says what you said. It is what it is. And he'll just kind of do whatever.
The one fight I've heard him say that he really wants in the last year is to fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah, of course.
Which I'm not trying to, sneak Conor McGregor into the discussion here. I'm sure everybody gets tired of him randomly popping up, and I'm like, but just how good is Conor McGregor,
Yeah.
But I think that's at least something, is that, you saw when he fought Yair, that was where that Conor-Max talk was at its boiling point. Conor released that really funny video of him pacing in front of the TV. And Max seemed all about it in the post-fight interview. I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
really heard the same. Like, he seems interested in the Volkanovski trilogy, interested in showing he's the best featherweight in the world for certain. But I think it's clear the fact that he should have got the fight when he took the Yair fight instead, and then he's taking this fight with Emmett instead of waiting for the winner there. There's really two reasons why this is happening. Either he doesn't want to take the extended hiatus and
Right.
therefore wants to remain active, or he's just doesn't care that much about the title fight. Like,
Yeah.
maybe he's
He just
just
wants to
kind
fight.
of he sees some other big fights ahead for him, and it's kind of like, look, one of these is going to come to fruition, whether it's
Yeah.
Connor, whether it's, there's I'm sure you could think of a few fantasy booking type fights for him. Maybe he goes up and fights Charles Oliveira for a title. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it is very weird, and the timing of it's weird, but I think that
Yeah.
more just has to do with I just think that it was maybe both parties jumping the gun on an injury that maybe didn't turn out to be
Yeah.
that bad, or, and this kind of goes against what I just said, maybe Max Holloway's like, no, I need a perfect training camp to beat this guy Volkanovski.
Yeah. That could be true.
He's like, I don't need a perfect training camp to beat Josh Emmett. I'm just kidding. I love Josh Emmett. But it's just like, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what he's thinking. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe he's thinking this guy's way below my level. Hopefully not. Don't look past him, Max. Don't
Oh
look
no,
past
and don't
him.
get me wrong. I mean, if that fight happens, I'm gonna be okay with it as a fight fan. I mean, that's a fun ass scrap too. Those guys swing and bang, So
Yeah.
it's just all so interesting to me.
Look,
Really.
I love Curtis Blades and Chris Dawkins,
Yeah.
and I'm cool with that main event. But man,
Yeah.
when I heard that was the fight that they were potentially looking into, I was like,
Oh.
Phew, we almost got Max Holloway in the main event in Columbus. I mean, nobody puts on better fights than that guy. No disrespect to Curtis Blades and Chris Dawkins.
It's just facts.
But let's get on into Bellator. Move on.
Move on,
into-
get on
This
up.
is Bellator 274, Dominic. Again, not the most stat card in the world, but there is a pretty important fight here at the top.
Yeah.
I never figured out if it's Hyman Gracie or Neiman Gracie. I think it's
I
Hyman.
think it's Hyman.
They all
Gracie.
have that.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
They
Yeah.
all have that H sound. to
Right.
it.
Right.
So I think it's Hyman Gracie and Logan Storley.
Yeah.
Pretty important fight in this division, Dominic, because obviously Gracie is one that kind of sticks out right away. He's got
Yeah.
the Gracie.
It's that
name.
last name, right?
Yeah, and he's definitely looked the part in his Bellator fights up to this point. But Logan Storley is an interesting underdog. Yes, we got these odds from FightOdds.com. You can't actually bet on Bellator fights on DraftKings.
Yeah.
But Logan Storley has one loss in his entire MMA career, and that's to the champion Yaroslav Amosov. I mean, he doesn't quite have the flash of a Gracie. His last win was a split decision.
Yeah.
But I think this is a pretty close fight. I don't really. Again, we're still trying to build our way up with Bellator a little bit, so we're less in the know about some of these guys' histories in the company. But I like Logan Storley. I just, when maybe it is just a bit of Gracie bias. You just kind of see that name, and you just go, man, this guy might have it. He might be the real deal. He might be the first Gracie to really reach this level since. Speaking of Gracie, what happened to
Crone Gracie.
Yeah, what the hell happened to Crone?
I know, right? He was a stud in the UFC. I don't know what happened.
But regardless, Hyman Gracie here and really this fight could have a lot of stakes to determine who's fighting next for Amosov's title. It's just there's a lot here to unravel. Dominic, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really important fight. The welterweight title is being defended kind of soon, too. I forget the date that we talked about on one of our recent fight announcements portions, but it is coming up. So here you got number 4 versus number 5. 2 studs. I mean, 11-2 for Gracie with 10 finishes, 9 of them via sub. Who would have got, right? A Gracie's good on the ground. Never would have thought that. But Logan Storley, he's got 8 out of his 12 wins via finish, but they're all by KO, TKO. It's a tale of 2 different fight styles here, Noah. And that's what makes this one really fun, because if you're Gracie and if you're a fan coming to watch this fight, you know what he wants to do. He wants to get this fight to the ground. He wants to submit you in and out, quick and easy, right? But for Logan Storley, can he defend the takedowns? And if he gets on the ground, can he defend the submissions? Can he keep it on the feet? Because if it's on the feet, you got to lean towards Storley, man, with his power and his knockout experience. Now, too, for what it's worth, a lot of his wins in Bellator specifically have come via decision. But I don't think that's really a knock on him. He's still, to have 8 of his wins by knockout, say a lot. They're both, young, 33 for Gracie, 29 for Storley. It's pretty even across the board. The odds, almost 2-1 for Gracie. But again, I mean, if he can just go back to the well, it might be a quick night. So it's potential to be a fun fight, and there is a lot riding on it, to say the least.
I kind of foresee one of these guys stomping the other one.
I think it's going to be a statement from the winner.
I don't know who it's going to be, but I think their styles are too different. They're too unique. They're too good at what they excel at.
Yeah.
I don't know, to fight that kind of fight that's very, what's the word? Just, by the books, by the numbers, just kind of tit for tat. I don't really see that with these two.
Yeah.
I think either Gracie's going to be able to get this fight to the ground and he's going to dominate there, or Storley's going to be able to hurt him on the feet and take him out there. Yeah. Really, that's the story here. And with so much on the line, and, Storley hasn't really been that guy in Bellator. Like, he's really good. He's winning. Only lost to Amosov, but he's not that finisher that everybody kind of pegged him to be coming in, at least up to this point.
Exactly.
With the higher level of competition, he just hasn't quite been able to get that groove. Doesn't mean he has to, but I do think to have your best chance against Gracie here, you're going to need to be lethal on the feet, not just good.
Yes. Oh, 100%. I love the way you actually put that, my friend.
Let's move on to the UFC event. Again, not a super stat card, but we do have a couple fights that we want to talk about in the main event. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a good fight, but very intriguing. Very intriguing because these are two guys that I still think show some promise.
Yes.
And obviously, I think Jamahal Hill's kind of the shiny new toy. Johnny Walker's kind of the one that's missing an eye and had some crown drawn or something.
Jamahal is what Johnny once was not long ago,
In some ways, yes. And Johnny Walker still, every once in a while he shows that potential. The Ryan Spann fight, yes, I know it was dicey, but he gets that awesome finish with the elbows and the clinch. I mean, just great stuff. But then he follows that up with the performance he had against Thiago Santos. And that was the last main event we saw him in. It went all 5 rounds, despite the fact that you look at those two and you're like, oh, this is going to be fireworks.
Yeah.
Johnny Walker has made a very measured attempt at being a higher IQ, a highly skilled fighter. But he's missing kind of what got him there in the first place, his explosiveness, his athleticism, his power. He seems to be kind of compromising that in order to try to be a technical fighter, a smart fighter. That's all well and good. I think there's a balance. I don't think he needs to just come out like a bull in a china shop and, perhaps get, countered to oblivion. Mm-hmm. But I do think there is a balance that he just hasn't been able to find. And he's been changing up his training camps a lot. We were talking in the nosebleeds. He's been with John Kavanaugh. He's been with Faraz Zahabi for a time. Like, and these all sound great. Like, when you hear he's going with Zahabi, I was like, oh my gosh, this dude's about to go Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't. It's just not really working. So I think there's probably a lack of confidence. That Santos fight really told me just a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
His chin is a little iffy at times, and maybe going up against these high-powered opponents has kind of got him worried that if they gets into a bit of a swing and bang, he's not going to be able to withstand the punishment. And that's still the battle here. You're going up against a guy with a lot of power in Jamahal Hill, a guy with great striking.
Yes.
I mean, it's the battle really here. It's different. Like, it's a different fight than Thiago Santos, but the questions remain the same. And if anything, they're just more pronounced now. Now you go, okay, he was kind of scared to get into the pocket with Thiago Santos. What's he going to do with Jamahal Hill? I think there's a way for Johnny Walker to win this fight. I really do. I think the odds are actually kind of a little bit too much in Jamahal Hill's favor.
I agree.
But based off what we've seen as of late, it's fair to assume that Jamahal Hill would win based on the fact that he has shown no fear to get into the pocket. He has shown no fear to get into a striking exchange. Has shown a good chin.
Yeah.
The only times he's faltered is when a fighter has been able to get him to the ground.
Yes.
In Paul Craig. Johnny Walker is not going to do that. But Johnny Walker does have the power to put someone like Jamahal Hill away. I truly believe that. It's just, I don't know if he's going to fight that fight, Dominic. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said in the nosebleeds, this fight, the outcome all comes down to one person, and it is Johnny Walker, because what version of him are we going to see? Are we going to see that guy that came in against Thiago Santos and really slowed it down, tried to be, like, precise and technical and patient, but, like, just didn't do anything and he lost at the end of the day, right? Or are we going to see that Johnny Walker who just comes out and gets into a firefight? Yeah, he may go down, but he can also knock your lights out too. Jamahal Hill, he always fights the same. I know what I'm going to see from Jamahal Hill. He's going to come out. He's not like slow and methodical, but he is very just patient. And when he picks the shots, he lands. He's very precise and technical. And he has that just hidden power. I mean, you look at the guy compared to some of these other light heavyweights, especially like I can't wait to see these two across the cage from one another. Johnny Walker looks like he was, created out of marble. Jamahal Hill just looks like your average dude, but he has just as much power as Johnny Walker. I mean, he's one punch KO'd people and put their lights out. His knockout against Jimmy Crute was brutal. So, and for what it's worth, we kind of said the winner of that Hill-Crute fight, that's who the UFC is going to back. That's who they're going to push for this light heavyweight division, at least that foreseeable future. And here's Jamahal Hill now getting to fight Johnny Walker, who once did have a lot of hype and is now just kind of looking to bounce back. It's a really interesting fight. It's one that is definitely going to play out on the feet. If there's grappling, I'll be utterly shocked in this one. But yeah, Jamahal Hill, a crazy big favorite. It did surprise me at first, but the more Noah talks about it and you look at when you compare their most recent fight, it makes sense. I can't help but agree with that, but it could be a coming out party for Jamahal Hill to really prove that he's here. And for Johnny, it's just, he needs to answer a lot of questions. Like, what can we see from you? What can we expect from you? Are you ever going to get to where we once said you could be? So there's a lot of pressure here, in my opinion, on Johnny Walker.
True, a lot of pressure. And up to this point, I don't think he's handled pressure very well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seemed like right when his stardom got to its peak is where everything kind of just fell into. I mean, it's not like it's past the point of no return. I mean, I don't want to act like it's been like a terrible drop off. I just think that he just hasn't been what we thought he was going to be. But he did have some crazy expectations at one time. People won't remember now or won't admit to having this take, but there were people that really believed he was the guy to beat John Jones.
Yep.
Hell, he might have been at that time.
True.
But it's just, I think it's a lot in his own head, and I don't have those same questions about Jamahal Hill.
No, not at all.
Jamahal Hill definitely could get bested here, but I don't think it's going to be because he mentally wasn't in this fight.
Yes, I agree.
Let's get on into the rest. Couple more fights to talk about here. Co-main event, Dominic. Kyle Daukaus getting a late replacement opponent. Jamie Pickett, kind of surprising everybody, won 2 in a row now. Kyle Daukaus has struggled a little bit, but a guy that does have a lot of potential. Is Jamie Pickett perhaps going to play the spoiler here?
Oh, I think he definitely could. Kyle Daukaus is now a minus 300, I think, or at least at the time we're recording this. I'll be curious to see what the lines look like on Saturday. But Jamie Pickett, he's won 2 in a row. Yes, neither has been like the most exciting thing, but he just fought January 15th. So just a month ago, he's coming in on short notice. It's not an easy fight. Kyle Daukaus isn't a good stylistic matchup for him per se. I mean, Daukaus is either going to win by decision or he's going to submit you. I mean, the guy's got 8 of his 10 wins via sub. But Jamie Pickett's a big dude. This is a catchweight fight, so it's 195 pounds. So Pickett, who would have already been the bigger guy, is going to be even bigger in this fight. And I think with his strength, him playing that clinch game may come into play here big time. maybe even utilize some wrestling if he wants to dabble on the ground. I think that's dangerous, but it could happen. But yeah, I think Pickett could definitely play spoiler here. And for Dawkins, he kind of needs to win now. I mean, he's 1-2 after having a good performance on the Contender Series. He hasn't really lived up to it yet. Yes, he's fought good competition. But Pickett kind of was in the same boat that Dawkins is in now, where he came into the UFC after 3 tries on the Contender Series, finally got the contract, started 0-2, but now he's starting to put it together here. He's 33, so he needs to win, and he needs to win now. It's an intriguing fight. It's definitely odd to be a co-main event, but here we are.
Yeah, I think if this fight gets to the ground and it's all Dawkins all day, he's got really good submissions. I'm a bit of a lanky guy, and that's kind of how he's able to be so lethal even off his back. But Jamie Pickett is an interesting matchup for Kyle Dawkins. I don't love Jamie Pickett. I don't love his upside, if I'm being honest. I mean, I've kind of predicted against him in most of his fights, but he has won 2 in a row, and deservedly so. Actually, my very first bet I ever made on the nosebleeds was Joseph Holmes by finish, and Jamie Pickett played spoiler
that's true
for that one. So, fun fact. But Jamie Pickett is probably going to be the bigger guy here, the stronger guy here. If he can get a hold of Dawkins and just kind of do what Jamie Pickett does, where he clinches a lot, kind of bullies you up into the fence, and does a little bit of dirty boxing, a little bit of whatever, but mostly just keeps you keeps you from really putting any damage on him. Yeah. Makes you have to try to defend really anything. I mean, I don't really see Jamie Pickett trying to legitimately take down Kyle Dawkins. That doesn't mean he won't change levels on him just to make him work, just to keep him from being offensive on Pickett.
Yeah.
It's not a fight that I have a ton of hope for in terms of excitement, but it does clearly feel like a fight that matters, especially for Kyle Dawkins. I mean, Jamie's taking this fight on very short notice.
Yeah.
It's at a catch weight, correct?
Yeah, 195.
So, those catch weight fights always kind of are like, because it's like it doesn't really matter for the division. But, all respect to these two for stepping up. Kyle Dawkins has some potential. He feels like the guy with the higher upside. I just don't know if I love the matchup for him here. But I'll be interested for that reason,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, Joaquin Buckley, our 2020 Joey Award winner for KO of the Year, is back against a man who has knocked out his opponents in 7 of his 15 fights by knockout.
Wait. Say that again.
Going up, I knew as soon as I said, I was like, oh boy, this is word vomit is coming out right now. Abdulrazak Al-Hassan has knocked out his opponents in the first minute of round 1 in 7 of his 15 professional MMA fights.
There it is.
So I think we kind of know what we're expecting to get from this fight, right? I mean, we're
someone going night-night?
Expecting fireworks, expecting high-octane action from the jump.
Yeah.
But sometimes those are the riskiest ones to say that about,
Yeah.
So, Dominic, is there any chance, is there any world where this fight goes to a very boring decision?
I don't know about boring, but as of right now, I actually have a decision as my pick for this fight. I don't want to spoil.
You're joking.
You're
joking.
I'm dead serious. I promise.
You have this fight going to a decision?
I do.
If it does, I will. What will I do? I'm gonna
easy.
I don't know. I know we're a family show. So I'm gonna do something.
But this fight is interesting, and you look at it and you think, Dom, you're crazy. There's no fucking way this is going the distance. Buckley's a finisher. He's finished 10 out of 13. Abdulrazak Al-Hassan has finished all 11 of his wins, all 11 in the first round. When he wins, what's the second round? He don't know what that is when he wins.
I can't wait to hear how you're gonna spin this.
But when he loses, 3 of his 4 losses have come via decision, and we've seen Buckley at least dabble past the first round. He's had a few finishes in the second and third, as we kind of discussed on the nosebleeds. And I almost feel both guys might be careful with one another because of that one-shot power. And again, I'm not saying it's going to be boring, but don't be too shocked if it does go 3 rounds.
I'll shit my pants if this goes to a decision. If it does, I mean, and I'm not saying it like you have proven to be better at picking fights than me. So I'm not in any place to tell you you're a big dum-dum. But I will shit myself if this fight goes to a decision. Yes, you're correct, Joaquin Buckley. While being a finisher, a knockout specialist, doesn't always do it early. He tends to fights tend to go on a little longer with him.
Yeah.
But win or lose for Al Hassan, I've never seen that guy not press forward.
Yeah.
I mean, he's coming off a 17-second knockout, and I think before that's when he got knocked out by Chaos Williams in like 30 seconds. So, I mean, there is a better chance, if you go off of the resume, that Al Hassan this fight will be over in less than a minute than it not.
You're right, which is crazy. That's insane. It's insane.
So I don't think it's going to – I'm not quite confident that it's going to be done in a minute. And I feel like I'm giving the kiss of death here, like by talking about it like this.
Yeah.
It was kind of what we didn't do with Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, and then that fight did over-deliver and did have a finish and was an awesome fight. I don't think this one's going to get out of the first round. I really don't.
Yeah.
But someone's going to sleep. Someone. And, Al Hassan, I think, he got the win he really needed. Since he had that long layoff, he was he owed? He had lost 3 straight or something like that. And got a bounce-back win. But he's still in the hot seat, man. I mean, 1-3 since your comeback. I mean, it's not great. And Joaquin Buckley, while, he had that moment in 2020 where he was knockout of the year, everybody thought this dude was a beast. He's had a couple moments. Alessio Di Chirico, the guy that did get knocked out by Al Hassan in 17 seconds, head kicked Joaquin Buckley in like 2 minutes, knocked him out cold. So both guys have kind of, while being very exciting, very fun to watch, have struggled at times. And I just don't see them fighting any differently here. Maybe Buckley would be the one of the two that would try to, I don't know. I don't see him. I don't see him wrestling here. I don't see him grabbing.
Right.
I just don't.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go there, which is what you were talking about with Al Hassan, his losses via decision have been when guys have wrestled him and have held him down. I don't see that happening here.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say for yourself before we move on?
I guess we'll find out on Monday.
I will shit myself, and you can shit on me too. Anyways, Gabriel Benitez versus David Onama. This has got to be one of the picks for fight of the night, right, Dominic? Actually, you know what? I'm going to let Dominic take this one. Go ahead.
This is my fight. This is the fight I'm most excited for on this whole card right here. And it's not because. Well, it is. Because David Onama is back, baby. And he's making his debut at the featherweight division. If you don't know, he made his debut in the UFC last year against Mason Jones, up a weight class on like 2 or 3 days' notice. Big kahunas. And went tit for tat. That fight was fight of the night, actually, awesome. On that card. It was a sick fight. But Gabriel Benitez, he's a tough out for anyone, man. A veteran. He's 6-5 in the UFC, so not the prettiest record. But he just makes fights difficult on guys, regardless of if he's winning or losing. So it's a big test still for Onama. Don't get me wrong, but I got to ride this hype. I mean, he's an 8-1 record. He was undefeated before that UFC debut. All 8 of his wins are via finish. He gets it done both ways. He gets them done in the first round. He's only 27. He's 3 inches taller, got a 3-inch reach advantage. So there are advantages here. And while it looks like the cards are in his favor, Benitez, again, I gotta, be careful here on my Onama fandom, just because I know Gabriel is dangerous and has that experience factor, been in there with really tough competition. But I'm so much looking forward to this fight. I think it could definitely be a fight of the night contender by the end of the card.
It's a tough draw to get Benitez coming off of a loss, but one that you took on super short notice out of your weight class. This feels like your true debut.
Yes.
And you get an 11-fight UFC veteran, Gabriel Benitez. what I'll say about Benitez is he's a tough out in the sense of he's not like an easy fight. 6-5, but all of his competition's been pretty good. But he is a necessary guy to put away if you're a true player in this division. And he does. He has been put away a few times. I mean, if Onama is really that guy, I'm not saying if he loses he can't ever,
of course,
come back from it. It's a tough fight, but if he's really that guy in the immediate future or in the soon-to-be future that we think he's capable of being, he's got to win this fight, and I think he's got to win it in pretty spectacular fashion.
I like that. I like that.
But I think it's a again, action-packed fight. I could see this going to a decision, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, I could.
I think both guys are just very talented and very much, while they both have been in very action-packed fights prior, for Onama's credit, his fight with Mason Jones, he lost, but his defense was never out the window. He was always very aware of where he was in the cage. And, even if Mason Jones was getting the better of certain exchanges, he didn't get a little overzealous. He never did. Even though he had Mason Jones hurt a couple times pretty bad. Benitez has always struggled with that. He is a guy that kind of is a kill or be killed type sometimes. But being that he is 6-5, back against the ropes, I could see him trying to at least smarten up a little bit defensively, trying to fix some of those holes we've seen and be a more complete fighter here. But I probably wouldn't predict it to go that way, but I do think that this is going to be a tough test for Onama, but one that he needs to pass.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Weekend Preview. Let us know your thoughts on all the fights this weekend. UFC, Bellator, the whole shebang. Let us know the fight announcements. A lot of Bellator on there. Who do you got winning those 2 title fights for Bellator coming up? Is Kayla Harrison about to sign with Bellator? So much going on.
So much.
But we will be back on Monday with the weekend recap, again, going over these fights. And then, of course, nosebleeds on Thursday, weekend preview on Friday. Dominic,
y'all get it.
Dominic, you signed yourself out. You signed me out. Let's get out of here.
Alrighty, Noah. Well, you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, at @dslee14. More importantly, you can follow the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, at @BAJ_MMA podcast. And I think Noah wants me to sign him out too. So you can follow him, my little old buddy over here. I pointed the wrong direction. Son of a bitch. There we go. Over there, at @NTBaker_ on Twitter and Instagram. He's got a link, guys and girls, in his bio. And it's got a bunch of links in it, and they're really cool because it's got like Spotify, Apple, Google, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Everything's on there, including 2 links from our sponsor, Anchor. Shout out to Anchor. One of those links, you can leave a voice message. We're halfway through February. I'm pissed off with the whole community. I'm going to be honest. I'm mad at all of you.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up. Guys, I tried to tell them, guys. I said, hey, take it easy. Maybe you're just having a bad month.
Yeah, true.
And here, so the dog is off the chain now. Dominic, D-Dog is off the chain.
Yeah, rough. So we want you guys to send in voice messages. We just want to hear from you. We want to build this community. We want to interact with you guys. You can be featured on the show. If you don't want to leave a voice message, I get it. It's fine. People are shy. We were once shy. But you can comment below on the YouTube channel. You can leave questions on Spotify. You could tweet us. You can comment on our Instagram posts. We just want to hear from you. That's all. We want to have a discussion. We want to feature you on the show. And the other link there, you can leave a monthly contribution to the podcast. Any and all support is greatly appreciated, as it will go back in to the show. Noah, did I miss anything?
Nope, that's it. We're out, and we'll see y'all on Monday.